if you look back over what has been taking place, I would say this: there's nothing like a good crisis to develop your skills and become a person of value. So I think the what the crisis has done for us is it's allowed us to see talent emerge under pressure.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. This is your host Neha at peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view, integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award that's specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and channel that receives more than 400,000 visitors a year, and we also publish several interviews with well-known names globally every month. We have with us today Maurice Collis. Maurice is the Vice President of Leadership and Organizational Development at Agility based out of Kuwait. In the past 27 years, he has worked in diverse HR roles. He specializes in raising capability and performance through coaching, mentoring, and leadership workshops. In particular, his focus is on helping people engage with and inspire others in order to find their unique leadership voice. He holds expertise in people analytics and works towards providing workable and sustainable solutions. So with that, we're very thrilled to speak with you today, Maurice, and welcome to peopleHum.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Maurice. So the first question that I want to ask you is, you being the VP of Leadership and Organizational Development yourself, what would you say the definition of leadership is? So have you seen a lateral shift in its comprehension over the past 30 years in your career?
Oh, yes, I have. And, it's a very, leadership is a fascinating subject. And if you look at the amount of books that have been written about leadership, you can see that everybody has an opinion about what about what leadership is. I've even had written a book about it myself to add as well, if you like, to the literature. But the changes that I've seen over the time that I started work is that there was very much a focus back in the day on being a charismatic leader. The leader almost as a guru. You could feel the presence of the individual, and I think that has changed over the years. Certainly back in the 1970s, 80s, if you walked into a room, you could immediately tell who was the boss. But I think that in recent years that has changed, and I think one of my favorite books about leadership, and probably one of the best, is On Becoming a Leader by Warren Bennis, which I think everybody should read when they're starting out, because it's a wonderful book for you to get to grips with what leadership is about. And what Warren Bennis tells us is that out of all the things that people have written about leadership, there are four qualities that are common throughout. And those qualities are integrity, of course, that's everywhere. The ability to adapt to relentless change. Also the ability to engage others, and the leadership voice. Now, for me, it's very interesting that 2 out of 4 of those relate to communication. So I think what we see what has happened certainly over the last 20 years, there's been a shift to communicating with not just the team, but also to the individual as well on a very basic level. And certainly in the work that I do, I encourage leaders, before they can become leaders, they have to find their voice. And what I mean, I steal that from Stephen Covey. I can say so. I think what I mean by that is that people have to overcome their fear of being able to speak in front of other people. So you'll often find now that people are getting much stronger at communication, and also as well, I think we've seen the ego of the leader being suppressed a little bit. And so you see now that again, I mention a lot of books, of course, because I'm very interested in what people write about leadership. And Liz Wiseman has written a very, very good book called Multipliers, where she tells us that the people that who are probably the best leaders are the ones who are able to bring out the best in other people.
Right.
So if you like, that the charismatic leader wanted to say, gosh, look who's the smartest person in the room. Whereas the multiplier is looking to create very smart people. So almost, if you like, I think what we're beginning to see is leaders stepping back a little bit and helping
Yes.
people to become the best that they can be. And if I were to say a quality that is coming to the fore right now, which maybe we didn't see so long ago in leadership, it's the quality of empathy. Um,
Right.
and I love what Simon Sinek says. He has an amazing video about empathy. And you know, if you were a leader 15, 20 years ago, and one of your team was not hitting the figures, the leader would go into the room and say, you know, your numbers are not what they should be. This could cause you a problem.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's more likely the case that the leader is going to go in and say, your numbers haven't been so good over the last few months. Is there something going wrong?
Yes. Yes.
Is there something I can
Absolutely.
help you with? So there's that, if you like, what I've seen, and this has been a very long answer to the question, but I think we've seen that shift away
Yes.
from the ego to looking out to other people to help them become the best that they can be.
Absolutely, Maurice. That is a very nuanced answer. And I feel like when we talk about leadership and the change that has taken place over the years, I feel like earlier leadership used to bend more towards one particular person being a leader, but now I feel like it's more about the people that are being led than the leader himself.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that insight. Moving on to the next question. What is the definition of a highly engaged team according to you? And to what extent do you believe we can measure employee engagement using HR software?
Well, you know, if you've ever been in a highly engaged team, you really
Mm-hmm.
know that you are that you're in it.
Yes.
Yeah, we all know about united in a common purpose, people understanding their roles and responsibilities, being able to resolve conflict, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Um, the people looking on the outside at a high performing team might see that team arguing and to the point that they think, wow, these people will never speak to each other again.
Yes, that's true.
But they are so comfortable with each other that they know that this kind of conversation is helping them to arrive at a better decision. So I'm always very wary of teams that have no conflict or say, you know, we all agree, because the worst thing of all, of course, is groupthink, where you know everybody think things are going, you know, extremely well. And
Yeah.
so, I like it when there's this issue of debate. I think the high performing team is created. The leader is very much the captain of the team in that sense, because there can be conflict which can be getting out of control. So at
Yes,
the
yes.
beginning, especially when the team is in the storming phase,
Mm-hmm.
the leader has to be quite directive in terms of cutting through that and getting people into the right position so that they know where they are.
Right.
So you can't create a high performing team unless you are really thinking about the type of people you want in that team. So
Absolutely.
so therefore, if I were to create a high performing team, I know that what I would be looking for is the most intelligent people that I could find,
Mm-hmm.
for one. Because how can you perform hugely well unless you have the best
Absolutely.
brains around?
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's a fundamental for me. And even actually, if they might not be particularly highly skilled, but I can deal with that
Mm-hmm. Yes,
because
yes.
they can pick up things really well.
Right, right.
They have to be determined. They have to be curious.
Mm-hmm.
They have to want to discover things over and over again, and they must want also to be enjoy being part of a team, and
Absolutely.
they shouldn't be like me. That in actual fact, if I'm creating a team, I want people to be totally different to me. so that I have all those different characteristics that
Right.
fill in the gaps from where I am. And so once you've created that, and you have these people, I love this phrase, by the way. uh, if I need to motivate you, I don't need to hire you. Because for me, the most fantastic people are those who come to work and they just want to create and innovate. They don't care if they've got a bad desk. They don't care if the paint is peeling off the walls. They're just saying, please let me create and innovate amongst a team that is like-minded and has the
Mm-hmm.
same common purpose and wants to achieve things. And when you're in that kind of environment, you are not going to think about going to join another company, even
Yes.
if they double your salary. Why would I leave? Why would I leave this? And there's a very important message too when you're in a high performing team. It might be that headhunters are going to come and say to you, "Wow, you are doing amazing things. Please come and join us in this company." Well, the facts of this actually that you could go, but your prospect of success is very low. Yeah, when you're in a
Mm-hmm.
performance team, you really know it. And there's always a temptation to think that you can be successful in another company. They might offer you double the salary. You can go, but the chances of success in another company without your support team are not
Mm-hmm.
that high. You might be lucky, but we always have to remember that when we're in a high performing team, it's the team that is the successful entity, not any
Absolutely.
one, and not any one individual. Now, when it comes to HR software,
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, I quite like surveys. I
Mm-hmm.
quite like engagement surveys, particularly if they've never been done before, because that gives you an indication of how engaged people are with the
Right.
with the company.
Yes.
Um, as well as that too, of course,
Mm-hmm.
there's many softwares these days that can interpret emails and give you an indication of whether somebody is engaged on their language that they're
Mm-hmm.
using. Can even give you an indication if they're contemplating leaving the company.
Right.
There's other software as well that can tell us about the people who communicate the most, who are the center of attention, where people come and get information from them because of their knowledge. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what do I think about these? I think they're useful if they're not intrusive.
Right.
Um, what I tend to think about it is that why don't you use your eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can tell when people are engaged,
Yes. Yes.
and you can tell when they're not just by their body language. Now, one of the things when I'm coaching leaders is
Mm-hmm.
that I do ask for them to really watch with their eyes, that they should never ever arrive at their office in the days when we used to go to our offices
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
put down the briefcase and immediately get to work. That this is an opportunity to walk the office space, and as I say to them, you've got to smell the air. That you have to engage with every single member of your team to
Mm-hmm.
see in what state that they come to work, and your eyes will tell you that. And this is where a leader is not just paying attention to the team, but paying attention to the individual. And the
Right.
actions that they take later in that day can be very, very important for sustaining the well-being of that individual employee. And it doesn't take software to do that.
Yes.
It,
Yes.
it, it
Absolutely.
takes it takes just old-fashioned common sense and using your eyes to see
Yes.
whether somebody is engaged or not.
Absolutely, Maurice. And I feel like one of the most important takeaways from what you just mentioned is that everybody wants the best talent. Everybody wants to hire people that are intelligent. But at the end of the day, I feel like if as a leader, unless you understand and realize upon the fact that people have the ability to change and adapt, and if you don't look at them as people who can learn new things, but just expect them to sort of come with those preset things since the very beginning, then that's not really going to help us. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, you certainly got to help them grow.
Moving on to the next question. So adoption of learning and development technology and courses has seen a significant rise during the pandemic. So why do you think that is? And what are your thoughts on that?
Again, I think this is a really good question. I think actually we've seen a shift towards learning in any event. I think that there was an initial reluctance, if you like, to believe in the merits of online learning. And I'll be frank with you, actually, that if you'd have asked me 12 months ago, would I be running leadership programs online? I would have said, no, never in a million years. We need to be, we need to be physically present, etc. And I've been astonished at how well we can run these programs online. Now, why has there been an uptake of it? Well, there's a number of reasons, I think. The one reason is that people working from home no longer have their commute time.
Yes.
So there is a degree of spare time, and they choose to upskill rather than, if you like, binge watch a series on a streaming service. So they use that time. There's an important thing though here actually is that we said what we said about commuting is that commuting was a bad thing, but also research has shown us that commuting was quite good in terms of providing us transition from working life to home life.
Yes. Yes.
So while we are working from home, we must remember that we must artificially create that kind of cooling off period.
Yes.
So number one, I think that a lot of us created a lot of short learning programs to enable people to deal with the crisis from March of this year, but then it accelerated from that. But also too, there's something else that is taking place culturally within the world, which is everybody is living longer. And the research tells us that 1/3 of people who've reached conventional retirement age choose to work on. Now, that's not necessarily because they need the money, although some do, but it's because they have something to offer, and companies want their wisdom and their skill because they have something to sell. Now, the research also tells that the 2/3 of the people who have reached that retirement age who are not working, they want to, but they didn't upskill. So it seems to me that the younger generations are beginning to cotton on to this and understand that upskilling is now an absolute essential. That is something you must do continuously. Personally, I've lost count of the number of programs, courses that I've taken personally over the last 4 years. Why? Because I enjoy learning. And it's something that I feel I need to do professionally to keep up to date in any event. There's also something true as well, I think, is that the pandemic has caused a degree of fear about job security. So as well as that, people have thought, you know what, I really should learn something new in case something happens to me, or at least so I can demonstrate to my superiors that I'm doing something that is very, very useful. We hear a lot now actually of this phrase about becoming a person of value. And I think that's very, very true, and that where somebody is creating for themselves as a person of value, then they are going to maintain themselves within work.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of people, as they're watching this or listening to this right now, are just nodding their heads in approval because all of us have gone through this period right now.
Yeah.
How would you say the future of HR looks like? Where are we headed?
I think this is another good question. I've thought about this a lot as well, actually, because I've been in and out of HR for you'll be surprised to learn almost 50 years.
Wow.
And of course, I was in personnel originally, and back in those days, personnel was very transactional. But having said that, there was something that was very important back in those days that we've lost, which is as a career personnel HR individual at that time. I did a few years learning the craft, the personnel HR craft. And then I was seconded into operations for a couple of years to learn
Okay.
about the business. Then I was seconded into finance to learn about how finance operated, because I was being developed and to be a career professional at the top. And so therefore I had to know the business and I had to know the numbers. Now we've sort of lost that in the sense that most people now go into a function, and that's where they stay for the rest of their days. Now, it doesn't
Yes,
seem
yes.
to affect the finance professionals so much, because very often we'll see a finance professional becoming the CEO of the company. And I do believe that is because they genuinely understand the business more than people do in HR. And I think that has to change. So I think there are a lot of HR people that don't get out into the business itself to learn about it
Right,
and to
right.
discover what the business is, because they regard themselves as generalist. I was speaking to a group of people who are HR consultants last week, and my advice to them was you have to specialize, that you have to become an expert in a business and know that business inside out. And it's the same for HR professionals as well. I don't think HR people can any longer say, I'm an HR generalist, so therefore I can work in pharmaceuticals this week and I can work in banking the next week. I don't think it's going to work
Right.
like that. And actually, the way I see things, probably the most successful HR professionals came from GE through Jack Welch, because Jack Welch drew his HR professionals from a commercial background.
Right, right.
So the strongest advice that I give HR professionals these days is understand the business,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
be a part of the business. Now, I don't necessarily like the term. Sorry, David Ulrich, but I don't necessarily like the term HR business partner, because that gives you the assumption that you are outside of the business looking in.
Right.
And I prefer to say HR professionals are firmly within the business. They understand the business, and they can contribute to what is going on. And certainly, if young HR professionals don't understand the business at an early age and rise to board level, they're going to find it very difficult to contribute to commercial decisions when they reach board level. So to sum that up, I think what I foresee is that certainly HR professionals are going to be more commercially driven. I also tend to agree with Ram Charan. I think that we may very well see HR split into two, with transactional HR on one side, and I think that we will see learning and development, organization development, and analytics in one grouped area, where the HR professionals will be advisors so we want to see HR as enabler, not HR as policeman.
Yes,
We don't want HR preaching, you can't do this, you can't do this, but rather helping people find solutions is the way that I see it going forward.
absolutely. And lastly, Maurice, do you have any sound bites for our audience?
If you look back over what has been taking place, I would say this: there's nothing like a good crisis to develop your skills and become a person of value. So I think what the crisis has done for us is it's allowed us to see talent emerge under pressure.
Yes.
So that has been an opportunity for us there. The other thing I would say regarding HR, is this: that if you're in HR, the best you can hope for in HR is that no one complains about you. That's the best you can hope for. Then you're doing your job.
Right.
No one will see you doing a great job in HR. And if your fundamental motivation is glory, then go into sales,
Right.
because
Absolutely.
you're not going to get it in HR. Your motivation for it must be self-satisfaction for
Yes.
a job well done.
Absolutely. That was great. So thank you so much, Maurice, for speaking with us today. It was a very delightful conversation, and I'm sure that our viewers and listeners will take away a lot from it. I wish you and your business all the best.
Thank you so much, and it was my pleasure to be with you. Thank you again.
Thank you.